Okay, Professor Reed, we are so interested to hear what you have to say today. So you can take it away.
If we're going to have a meaningful response to the climate crisis, it's going to take a very large percentage of the population. And that's why my new post-XR project is to build what we're now calling a climate majority. We need to have a mass moderate flank to the environmental movement, far bigger than the exciting innovations we saw with the school strikers and Extinction Rebellion. We need to have people being involved across the world, but within countries, we need to have people being involved across all different kinds of demographics, across groups that are never going to think of themselves as activists or never going to be involved in that kind of way. How will this be done? How could this possibly be done? Well, we can talk about that in more detail, but to give you a couple of outlines. You might immediately start by thinking something as big as that, it's only going to happen if it's mobilized through the media or through government. It has to be something huge that can reach everybody, you might think. Well, I'm not so sure. I think we can't trust governments to lead on this. I think they're not going to do so. I think that is increasingly clear and makes the COP systems an incredibly hollow process that we can have less and less faith in. The people need to lead. As for the media, well, the media is in a much better shape in dealing with these kind of crises in relation to how it was in, say, 2018, when on the BBC, for example, you still used to have climate deniers be balancing against climate scientists or climate activists in arguments and discussion programs. But it's only relative, the change in the media. Relative to where we need to be, the media is still miles off the pace. And in any case, does the kind of change that I'm talking about that has got to saturate people's lives, does that actually happen through the kinds of changes that can be mobilized by governments alone or by elite top-down ways of doing things such as we have in broadcasting? And I put it to you that it doesn't. It has to actually involve people. It has to involve the people organically. It has to involve the mobilization of very large numbers of people. How do you do that in a situation which isn't actually a war type situation? How do you get people into a frame of mind where they want to be mobilized en masse in larger and larger numbers? The kinds of ways in which governments and the media can mobilize people take place essentially through what sociologists call weak ties. There are weak ties, for example, between celebrity influencers and those that they influence, or between authority figures and those that they influence. And there's only so much that you can do through weak ties. At the heart of the innovation that we're trying to put forward in building a mass moderate flank, in building what we're now calling a climate majority, an actual majority of people who are ready to take the kind of action that we need. At the heart of this is the idea that we need to mobilize the strong ties that exist between people and that so far have been barely exploited in this struggle. So let me go into this term climate majority a little bit more. There is already a majority of people who accept that the climate crisis is serious and want something done about it, want something meaningful done about it. But that majority is shallow and mostly unactivated. We need to deepen it, which we do partly by waking people up to just how serious the crisis is. And we need to activate that majority. But how do you do that? How do you activate people? How do you reach people in a way that they actually want en masse to make change? Well, as I've already hinted, I think you don't do it just by top-down messages. You have to do it by reaching people through other people that they trust, that they know, that they feel some kind of identification with, that they want to be in solidarity with. So that's why what we're saying in the moderate flank, the new moderate flank, as we seek to build this climate majority, is that what we need to do is to reach people through the kind of strong ties that they have, that we all have. I mean things like our extended families, I mean our neighborhoods. I mean our workplaces, our businesses, our professions. I mean our religious organizations. In most of these locales, there has been as yet very little effort to mobilize people around climate and ecology. Most of the effort so far has either come through the media, or has come through political organizations, or has come through NGOs, or has come through green consumerism, which is essentially no ties at all. It's just relationships with objects rather than with other people. What if we were to try to mobilize people through their actual lived relationships with each other, the kind of relationships that we have in our families, or that parents have with each other if they're part of a group of parents who are in a network together, or people who work together. So that's the kind of thing that we're trying to do. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to support. So, for example, we are supporting, by we, I mean the Moderate Flank Incubator, which is the organization that I co-direct. We are supporting an organization called Lawyers for Net Zero, which is trying to get lawyers to organize as lawyers to undertake climate actions through the firms that they work with. Another organization that we're incubating is called Community Climate Action, which is seeking to get people in communities to work together, to work pieces of land together, to form more resilient communities, and to involve as much of the community as possible. So reaching out to people who are unlike themselves, but doing it in a way that involves face-to-face communication, and that through that kind of strong tie can achieve solidarity in ways that you simply cannot do through things like Facebook, let alone through ads or programs on television. Now, you might say in response to this, and I'll stop after making this point, you might say in response to this, that sounds great, but it sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like it's going to take a long time. Well, I think you'd be right. There is no quick fix. One implication of that is that, contrary to the scientists and technologists and the radical flank activists who sometimes say, well, we need a quick fix, we must have a quick fix, and we're going to deliver a quick fix. There is going to be a lot of pain, there is going to be a lot of degradation, and the chances of failure are high, the chances of collapse are high, the chances of fundamental change, including decline in the meantime, are pretty much 100%. But it seems to me that this is actually the best chance that we've got. If we mobilize these kinds of strong ties and start to work through the population, getting a larger and larger number until eventually we do have a deepened, activated climate majority, well, then we can actually win. We can actually undertake full-scale system transformation. And it's nothing less than that that is going to be required if we're going to get through this. So that's why I think that the argument that I've outlined to you is our best shot, difficult though it's going to be, and much pain along the way, as though there is going to be. Thanks, and now over to you. I'm fascinated to know what you think.
Thank you. I feel fired up just hearing you speak about that.